Uh, 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 I don't care anymore, man. I really don't. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. Honolulu. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. Honolulu. Yeah. I wanna take you to Honolulu, baby. I wanna go on a vacation. Wanna chill, wanna sit on the beach and chill. Wanna drink Corona Beach and chill. Yeah, put the lime in the drink. Stop and think. Look at your face, man, you're beautiful. Girl, you're beautiful. Never seen nothing so beautiful. Make the beach look like it's nothing. Like it's nothing. Make everything look like it's nothing. Girl, I love you. Girl, I love you. I didn't know this till now, but I love you so much. I want to be with you forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Wait. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. I wanna take her to Honolulu. I wanna take her to Honolulu. Honolulu. Yeah. I wanna take her to Honolulu. I wanna take her to Honolulu. I wanna take her to Honolulu. Honolulu.
I remember back in the day when I used to work and get paid. I spent my whole check on you, girl. You were my whole world. My voice is kinda fucking trash, but you didn't give a shit about that. We used to light it up and burn ash, but now you're gone and I'm here all alone. My life is nothing but a poem. Yeah, da 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 da. Yeah.
I wanna take her to Honolulu, Honolulu, Honolulu. Wanna take her to Honolulu, Honolulu. Yo, this is for everybody who's in love right now, man. This is for everybody. I want you to tell that special someone you want to take her to Honolulu, dog. Y'all go on the beach and fucking chill, man. This is for y'all, man. We love, one love. That's it. That's all we gotta do for man. We just want to show everybody that we mean everything to everybody. Everybody's somebody, somebody. Everybody, somebody's everything. Thank you for the support. Peace.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Spike, this is for Rachel, you big, fat, white, nasty-smelling fat bitch. Why you took me off the motherfucking schedule with your trifling, dirty, white, racist ass, you big, fat bitch, oompa loompa, body ass bitch, Cohen. I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom.
I don't. Hi, everybody.
Don't worry about that one. Don't worry about that.
Hey, everyone. I'm sorry for whatever that was a moment ago.
It's this
certainly has nothing to do with me, but I'm glad that you've joined us.
It's this thing that's going around the old TikTok, and they are.
Oh, was that on TikTok?
Yeah, it's on TikTok, and somebody made a TikTok of them leaving a voicemail for their boss using that, plus a lot more. And people are now saying it on TikTok.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that was some beef you had with someone named Rachel. I'm like, goodness, man. Like, nope. Okay, well, hey.
That's the voicemail that this woman left.
Okay, fair enough. Well, hey, everybody. I'm sorry about Rachel's doing that to someone. But so Matt, how was your week?
Oh, my week's good. I moved into a new location, as anybody watching can probably tell. So for the next few months, this is what it's going to look like. On my
Very
end.
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I had a fun weekend. Or actually, it wasn't a weekend. It was Monday. I had a great week beginning. In Greensboro, North Carolina, doing the Pound the Pavement event. But we'll talk about that later. So, yeah, no, I had a. What else happened this week? Oh, I don't have cancer.
That's good.
I don't have cancer.
Good.
I went to there was a brief period that they thought I had cancer, but I don't. I didn't tell anyone, including you.
I realized this.
But so I don't. And that's really good. And while I was there, I got to meet a student doctor who saw my Vermin Supreme pin on my jacket and asked me if I liked Vermin Supreme or if I voted for Vermin Supreme or something. And I said, well, I'm his running mate. And he got all excited and he was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And I can't tell anyone that I met Vermin Supreme's running mate. I'm like, yeah, you can. I don't care. And he's like, do I have your, how do you word it? Your verbal clearance?
Express verbal
your express. He had a very specific term. You have express verbal consent to tell my friends that I met Vermin Supreme's running mate at work. And I said, yeah, just make sure they know that I don't have cancer or HIV because, like, I don't want there to be, like, because you're a cancer doctor. And I don't want to.
Right.
Oh, and I don't have HIV. By the way, I don't have HIV. That was never really, they didn't really think I had HIV, right. But they they just wanted to check that.
No, I get that.
Which was
always a good check. Always a good check to get.
Right. And it was interesting because they were like, well, have you been checked for HIV? And I'm like, well, I was 6 years ago, which was kind of absurd then because I've been married for 10 years. And they went, oh. So they checked me again because apparently they thought maybe I looked like a cheater. I don't know.
The statute of limitations on that test had expired.
So apparently so. She kind of gave me a look and I thought, oh, wow. You're going to test me for HIV even after I said that. So anyway, I don't have that. So good news. No HIV, no cancer.
Nope. Good.
And do still have MS.
Yeah.
Turns out that doesn't clear up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
but yeah. So anyway, it was fun. So I got to. There are some med students and doctors who got to hear that Vermin Supreme's running mate does not have cancer or HIV. 3 days before you guys found. Well, 4 days before you guys found out.
Good. Oh, first and foremost, let me thank Justin for the Kava that I already drank.
Oh, and allow me to thank Kroger for this delicious purified drinking water.
Mm.
And allow me to thank Coastal Cancer Center for confirming that I don't have cancer or HIV. Bulavanaka.
I just want to point out that I have this lovely Chris Reynolds Camelback.
I keep forgetting to wear my...
Yeah. Look, I'm wearing my Chris Reynolds shirt with my Chris Reynolds Camelback water bottle that is now a Chris Reynolds personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds attorney at law water bottle, and a Muddied Waters water bottle.
I could recreate that. I don't know what my problem is, why I keep forgetting to wear Chris. I wear Chris stuff like out and about, but then on the show I don't wear it. Like I wear it, in a place where he can't really get much business. I presume he's not licensed here. Maybe he is. I don't know. I presume.
I don't believe so.
I don't know how where the reciprocity works, but then on the show, where I could actually maybe drum up some business for him, no, not so much.
I was with him earlier today, and I forgot to reset my mic for this new height.
I was going to say you might want to turn it up just a little.
Is this better?
Little better, a little bit more.
How's that?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
that's good.
Awesome. Yeah, so I was hanging out with Chris earlier today, and I don't believe he is licensed to lawyer in South Carolina.
I would imagine so.
Or North Carolina.
Or North Carolina.
Or whatever Carolina you happen to be in on whatever particular day.
Just the Carolinas.
Right.
The Carolinas. The yeah, so I'm gonna have to start remembering to
I now have
to
three.
wear stuff.
I'm not gonna lie, the green, I really like the green Chris Reynolds attorney at law shirt. But it does not do well against this wall, which Dan Faust, I did not repaint with Kill's coronavirus paint. That is what these walls were painted before I got here.
I like that. Kills coronavirus. Nice. So, speaking of killing the coronavirus, Joe Biden. I actually had a better segue, which was speaking of forgetting things. But speaking of any number of things. Speaking of getting the show started, Joe Biden had an interesting. Well, he's had a great week. It's been the best of times and the worst of times for Joe, as it always is. Joe
lives in that specific.
Joe lives in a world of winning despite himself. It's very interesting to watch. If there is, for those who have any doubt, or if there's any debate about the existence of white male privilege, if there is such a thing, Joe Biden absolutely has it. And then something about being really old and having been the vice president. I mean, let's be clear. That's why he's the nominee, or why he's going to be the nominee soon. But Joe had, let's start with the fun stuff first. Joe Biden had a very interesting encounter with a union construction worker in, I believe, Michigan. And this, first of all, let's go through a couple things. Sorry about this real quick. We'd like to, this episode is brought to you by we're trying to help. The Libertarian Party of Tennessee is raising money for the people that were affected by the tornadoes last week. And so if you can go to lptn.org/donate and make a donation, and in the where it says donation comments or something like that, put tornado relief so they know it's for the tornado relief. lptn.org/donate. Be sure to do that. This episode is brought to you by the Libertarian Party Dad Bod calendar. Sexy libertarian men such as me, $12 shipped to your front door, coronavirus free. It's also brought to you by the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, also coronavirus free, the fastest growing coronavirus free caucus in the party. So Joe Biden, speaking of coronavirus free, probably Joe Biden, maybe we don't. I mean,
I have no way to know. So
really don't have any way to know. It's not like they're testing anyone. But Joe Biden he had a fun, interesting moment. A little bit of a tiff with a construction worker who was asking about if he was going to take away his guns. And so the audio in this, just to kind of prep you ahead of time, there's a lot of background noise. The audio is not the best. This was the best video I could find in terms of the audio. But you can hear the stuff. It's just not going to be the best. So just giving you the warning. Go ahead and try to listen. But it actually, the audio gets better as they get closer. But it's worth it. It's worth it. So here we go.
And you are actively trying to diminish your Second Amendment right to take away the gun. You're full of shit.
That's him saying you're full of shit. And that's him shushing.
they were talking about guns.
We're talking about guns, yeah.
Second Amendment, just like right now, if you yell fire, that's not free speech. From the very beginning, I have a shotgun, I have a 20 gauge, a 12 gauge, my son's hunt. Guess what? You're not allowed to own any weapon. I'm not taking your gun away at all. You need 100 rounds.
When you were with Beto and you said you're going to take our guns.
I did not say that. That's not. I did not say that.
He literally
It's a
just said
viral
that.
video like the other ones they're putting out that are saying they're lying.
Your own voice, you said that you're taking the guns.
Oh, he just clarified it. Wait. Take your AR-14s.
Okay, this is not okay.
AR-14.
Hey, let's
Well,
get
don't
this
tell me
real.
that, pal. We're gonna go outside
There's a lot
with
of
you.
guys. Want to.
I'm not working.
So much.
Give me a break,
so
man.
much.
Don't be such a
Hey, there's a lot of
Hey.
Joe.
Look, here's the deal.
Go.
Here's the deal. Are you able to own a machine gun?
I own a machine
I
gun.
said, are you able to own one? Under law.
Machine guns are illegal.
That's right. So AR-15's illegal.
How is that in a machine gun?
No, it's not.
Semi-automatic.
Yeah, do you need 100 rounds? Do you need 100 rounds?
That's in America with handguns, and there are what you call assault rifles. Why are you advocating for assault rifles when people are buying for handguns?
Okay, let's...
You don't represent like this. No.
So that guy basically thwacked him.
Yes.
So for
But
those
what I
who
did
couldn't,
learn-
go ahead.
What I did learn today is that the AR-14 is real.
Oh, is there an AR-14?
There is an AR-14. I thought that it was him being him, but maybe he was referring to the AR-14, which is a real gun. AR-14 assault rifles are chambered 5.56 by 39 millimeter round and have folding butt stocks.
Are we going to give? I mean, I'm okay if you are with giving him the benefit of the doubt on that he was referring
Oh
to.
no,
an
he made a
AR-14.
mistake.
Yeah,
He 100% made a mistake. And I was going to hit him a lot harder, but AR-14s are real.
Are actually real. So it's no, I get it. It's kind of hard to.
But they're full auto, so they aren't allowed here.
Oh, so there
Unless
are.
you
So
have a
yeah, no, he was talking about the AR-15. Like, let's be clear. Let's be clear. He was talking about the AR-15. But so he said some interesting stuff there. It started with the part that you really can't hear. It started with the firefighter basically saying, why did you make these comments about you're going to take away our guns and take away our ammunition or something like that? And he says, you're full of shit. And immediately his campaign team they're like, uh-oh, here it comes. Hopefully he doesn't try to sniff them next. And so they come in, and Joe goes, no, shush. He shushes his female aide, which is just, mwah. But he shushes. That is pure Joe Biden there. So he shushes his female aide, and then he proceeds to dig deeper, and he says, what does he say? Let's talk about. I love the Second Amendment, and with the Second Amendment, you can't yell fire in a hallway or something like that.
Yeah, he was saying
you can't yell fire in a hallway.
Like I watched that video earlier today, but you could not hear that at all from.
Yeah, I read a transcript. In retrospect, I probably should have put little captions or whatever. But he said, "Yeah, you can't yell fire in a hallway." And then he says, "My whole family, we're all hunters. We have 20 gauges and 12 gauges. You can't have a gun." They said he can't have a gun, and then he said, "I'm not taking your gun." And then the guy said, "You just said that I can't have I can't have a gun." I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Said that, man. I never said that, man.
I never said that. And he says, "Well, there's a viral video of you saying you're going to take the gun." And he goes, "Oh, you mean like all the other viral videos that they put out that I didn't say the thing, or I didn't say?" And then he says, "No, it's your voice. You said it." And I'm sure those other videos, it's his voice too. So
I know which video he's talking about there.
The one where they make it look like he endorsed Trump or whatever.
Yeah, that one, because there is another part to that sentence that they edited out.
Of course.
But yeah, that is what he is referring to when he says that. But you said everything. That is the one. Like, I don't understand why they did that, because you don't need to do that with him. He makes so many mistakes on his own.
This is going to be a debate between two men who can't really string a good sentence together.
It's going to be great.
And then they're going to make stuff up. It's going to be like, if you've got and I don't want to name them, but I have them in my family, two boomer relatives that like to argue with each other, and they can't really articulate how they feel, but it's not positive, and it just breaks down to them calling each other rat bastards over and over again and making up things and like, oh, I could have kicked that guy's ass. I'd have killed that guy. Like, it just devolves into nonsense. It's like two toddlers. That's what this debate will be like.
It's going to be a lot of, I didn't say that, man. Wrong. I didn't say that, man. Wrong. I didn't say that, man.
That's
Wrong.
clear. Yeah.
Like that's what the debate is going to be.
That's
And
pretty
I am
accurate.
so excited for it.
I'm not excited. And then especially if we can get Vermin on there, that'll just it'll be like, really, I can die. At that point, after that, I'll be like, all right, time to die.
Legitimately, Vermin is the only one there that can string together
That's
a coherent sentence.
We actually tweeted that. The campaign said, picture, if you will, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and Vermin Supreme on a debate stage, and the man with the boot on his head is the only one able to form a full sentence. And can you imagine him looking like the reasonable one with the boot on his head, looking clearly like the only one who has any sense up there? This could be our time, America. Like this could be our moment. So that happened, but really that's the only bad news he's had, because it just keeps getting better from there. Like what happened in California, right, Matt?
Yeah, so as of yesterday, when did you pull that picture? Yeah,
Like
okay, still at
20 minutes ago. Yeah, 50.
Cool. All right, so we're still at 94% reporting.
Yeah.
So as of today, with 94% reporting, Bernie's holding on to a 300,000 vote lead, with the delegates totaling 186 for Bernie and 150 for Biden, who made a jump since I made these notes. And there are still roughly 3 million votes to be counted in the state, because as we recall from all of us who tuned in last week, California does it where you have to mail in your ballot by primary day. So there is still, it's California and it's the U.S. Postal Service. So there is a good chance that they still haven't gotten all of the ballots in.
Yeah, there's like 20 days left in the deadline for them to count or something. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. California does not have an election day for primaries. They have a primary month.
Right. They have an election timeline, or election deadline that you have to get it in by, and then after that, what I found out earlier, I found out yesterday, Washington State does not have open ballots, like a place where you go and you vote. Everything is mail-in. I did not know that until yesterday. And the people of Washington love it. They say how convenient it is. They get their ballot like way in advance. They have till whenever, like they can fill it out at their leisure. They just mail it in. Supposedly it saves a fortune not having to have these polling locations. It's better for people that have to work all the time and aren't able to take that day off. Like, they say it's far superior. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, so
that'll be another fun one.
Really quick on this, when we go over election stuff as it's coming in, we're not going to do Washington because that's just pointless.
Because they're not going to know.
And also Biden won Missouri and Mississippi already. So he just keeps rolling at this point. It doesn't look like anything is stopping the Biden train.
No, we are in full Joe
Mentum.
Mentum.
We're going to get to Michigan in a second, but
Joe Mentum is real.
Yeah, Joe Mentum is very real.
Joe Mentum is very, very real. Speaking of something real, something very real, Chuck Schumer, Matt, really is a real person, and he really did a thing too.
He really did a thing. Do we want to cue it up, or do you just want to play it for the fun?
Yeah, let's just play it. This is the thing that Chuck Schumer did.
Republican legislatures are waging a war on women, all women. And they're taking away fundamental rights. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
So this was Chuck Schumer at a rally out in front of the Supreme Court during they're making a decision on the abortion case that we actually spoke about last week, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So last week, so you have to watch the entire last show to find out what it was. Yeah. No, the abortion case was basically they're deciding whether what is it, Matt? They're deciding there were two main things, but one was whether states can require abortion doctors to have abortion providers to have hospital admitting privileges, which a lot of hospitals won't do. And then the other case was whether third parties can have cause to file lawsuits. Isn't that correct too?
So yeah, it is. The Louisiana law was written up so that abortion doctors would need admitting privileges within a hospital within 30 miles. And that is what's being challenged because a lot of hospitals in Louisiana will not give abortion doctors admitting privileges.
Right.
And then the other half of that was, can third parties such as abortion providers sue or challenge a law because they are a third party in this? They aren't the people who are directly being affected, which would be the patients.
It would have to be the actual patients who wanted to get abortions that weren't able to.
Right.
Right.
And so those are the two things that are kind of on the table with this Supreme Court case. And I think all arguments have been made, and now the Supreme Court is trying to decide. I was hoping that they would have decided by today, but they failed us once again.
Stop taking forever to make decisions, or else you're gonna pay the consequences. Gorsuch and Kavanaugh.
Right.
So he did this thing. He said this statement, and then Chief Justice John Roberts wrote a statement where he said, among other things, threatening statements of this sort from the highest levels of government are not only inappropriate, they are dangerous. And now Schumer tried to clarify. Now, again, we listened to it. He said Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, and then he pointed
to pay the price.
He pointed in their direction.
Yeah, he pointed at the Supreme Court building.
In that building there, you're going to pay the price. Reap the whirlwind or whatever he said.
Yes.
He then said, upon further reflection, my point was that there would be political consequences for President Trump and Senate Republicans if the Supreme Court, with the newly confirmed justices, stripped away a woman's right to choose. Of course, I didn't intend to suggest anything other than political and public opinion consequences for the Supreme Court, and it is a gross distortion to imply otherwise.
Can we play that video one more time?
Yeah, let's play that video again and witness Chuck Schumer threatening only political consequences to President Trump and Senate Republicans.
Right.
Let's listen for those names.
Republican legislatures are waging a war on women, all women. And they're taking away fundamental rights. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
I don't know, Matt.
That's almost a coin flip. Could go either way, but I think more times than not, I'm going to say he was threatening Gorsuch and Kavanaugh more so
by name.
Yes, especially because he brought their names into it, as opposed to saying to every Senate Republican who approved Gorsuch and Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think he was threatening to murder them. Let's be clear. I don't think this was a threat of their life or anything like that.
I don't think he was threatening. I don't think he was personally threatening them. But however people hear it is however people hear it.
That's true. That is true. And it speaks to what happens with these systems of government where people are forced into competing camps with each other and feel like, the people in the other camp are an existential threat to them. you end up with people, shooting up abortion clinics, or people shooting up, political centers, or you had the guy who shot up the baseball game with the congressman. So I mean, this is what happens. You get people that are so hyped up that something's got to stop, or the government, this one part of the government is going to destroy everything from you if you don't protect them from this part of protect this part of government from them. It's a problem. So yeah, I it was definitely a threat.
It was,
and I guess you could conceivably say it was a threat, a bit of a dog whistle threat that, if you don't do what we say, bad things could happen to you, not necessarily from us, but from people who are upset about that.
Right.
You could also say, I mean, this is some standard plausible deniability stuff. Like, he can make that kind of inflammatory statement and then make this other statement of, how dare you suggest that I was saying anything other than political consequences against people I did not name.
Against people whose names never came up.
Yeah. Now, he did mention Republican legislatures. He did mention that. He did not mention that the Congress, that the House is a Democratic legislature at this moment. That's interesting. But yeah, so it's a, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. So we don't have a ruling on that. We were really hoping to have a ruling on that. Looking like maybe next week.
Probably next week.
Probably next week.
It's looking like it'll be next week. I've been following that one pretty closely.
This isn't going to be the one of these ones where we find out at like the end of June, right before they recess, is it?
I don't think so.
I hope not.
It's been one of the top ones. If you Google Supreme Court cases, like, people are very interested in this. I feel that they will give us a ruling, and they still have a few more that they need to hear. So I think we're going to get a ruling on this one decently soon. But I honestly have not ever been great at predicting the Supreme Court.
That's one we haven't been the best at. We've been kind of like, we've been, I think, better than even, but we haven't been our usual, Nostradamus-y selves when it comes to that. So we have some comments here. Joe Swiggett says deliberately obscure. Yeah, it's kind of wink wink nudge nudge type of stuff. Chris Reynolds says Matt's background looks less interesting than usual. Yeah, we gotta get, now your background's looking like mine.
I know, it's
unacceptable.
Like seamless, and
we'll have to get you like a little like cork board that just stands up on like a tripod or something behind you that you can put some stuff on.
Yeah, like I'm thinking just a green screen, and then I can put whatever I want back there.
Oh, that'd be good too. Don't try to outshine, because then I got to get a green screen and it'll be like planets and stuff.
I'm just going to do like an underwater sea adventure constantly going.
And just me with a beige accent wall behind me. That's funny. Jason said they're planning to flood, quote unquote, the Supreme Court when the next Dem president comes into office. That's definitely it. Non-top fan, Jason Lyon.
No, that's right. Non-top fan, Jason
Non-top fan.
And Jason Lyon made a comment about my quote unquote mustache earlier. At least I don't straighten it. That's all I've got. That's all I've got to say about that.
Well, yeah. You're cultivating quite a thing there, Matt.
Yeah. I've been moving, so my razors are all packed up somewhere. I don't know where they are.
You'll find them.
Yeah, I hope.
I believe in you. I believe in you. And speaking of believing in someone, that's a terrible segue for this.
That is an awful segue for this.
Speaking of believing in someone, I believe that these someones did. Let's come up with something else. Speaking of
believing in someone, the police believed that this someone committed a crime.
Oh, wow. That's actually possibly worse than anything I could have come up with. So this is a frightening case out of Florida, Matt. So this started with a guy named Zachary McCoy that was informed due to a geofence warrant that this guy, Zachary McCoy, was a suspect in a robbery, Matt.
He was actually the lead suspect.
This guy.
Yeah, that guy.
This guy definitely robbed them. So tell us about this, Matt.
So a geofence warrant, for anybody who doesn't know, is a police surveillance tool that casts a virtual dragnet over crime scenes, sweeping up Google location data drawn from users' GPS, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and cellular connections from everybody in that area. Everybody in the area.
Now, I know what you're thinking, guys. How could that possibly go poorly?
Right. So while young Zachary McCoy, probably not that young. Actually, I know how old he is. He's not that young. While Zach McCoy,
Right.
Sir McCoy,
Sir
was
McCoy.
using the app Runkeeper, which that was an app that I used to use before I paid for a gym membership that I don't use now. Clocked that.
That's interesting factoid there.
It's fun. Yeah. I just like to give money to a gym that I don't go to.
As do most members.
That's true. But while using the app Runkeeper, he clocked that he went by the victim's house, the victim of this robbery, 3 times on the day of the robbery while biking his normal route near his house.
Okay.
So the police...
So that made him the lead suspect?
Yeah, that made him the lead suspect.
That sounds like we don't really have many good leads.
Yeah, that's what
that sounds like. Yep.
So the Gainesville police demanded the info from Google, who gave them the location data of everybody who was by that house, thanks to the geofencing warrant. And Google actually emailed Zachary and they said, hey, just so you know, we had to give this information up. And the only way for you to stop it is if you complain. Like, you have to file something and you have to file a motion in court to stop it. Like, we can't do anything.
So they had a warrant, but this warrant is basically for everything in that area.
Right.
As
that
opposed
Google
to like
has to give them
a specific person or something that they have some kind of reasonable suspicion. Instead, they said, we want to find out about everything about anyone that was in this area. And guys,
Right.
if you've ever turn on Google Maps sometimes when you're just in your house, and if you keep it on and watch it and keep pressing the update my location, it will move like a lot. Usually it stays within a few meters. Every once in a while it'll move quite a bit. And all that data is being tracked as being in that general area.
right.
So I'm going to tell you right now, if they say, especially in like a metro area that has a lot of people in it, I don't know much about this specific area that it was in.
Yeah, Gainesville it's a metro area, but it's not like a New York or...
It's not like urban.
Yeah, it's not like Miami or even St. Pete. It's going to be much more spread out, more colonial, I think would be the best way to put that.
But even in a suburban area, if you're saying, okay, we want anything within a, however many blocks, it's going to spread out much further than that. So they're basically getting all of the data that is on your phone in like probably like almost like a square mile radius. And you didn't do anything. And they're going to get a bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with the case. And what do you want to bet? They're going to find a way for it to be actionable if they can find that maybe it's criminal or it violated some bylaw or something like that. Like this is a scary, scary thing. And I know what you're thinking. Well, good. At least they caught the crook, right, Matt?
Right. That's what one would think. Except no, they didn't. McCoy, Sir Zachary, he borrowed money from his parents so he had actually just gotten his associates in computer science, just started a job, didn't have a lot of money,
right.
Rode his bike everywhere, and because he didn't have a lot of money. And so he went to his parents and borrowed money to get a lawyer because he was really scared about the notification that Google gave him.
Right.
So he hired a lawyer, and I left out a bunch of the story, so I'm going to try to remember it. Because I thought this was going to be a really short segment, but I feel like almost every step in this is important.
Right.
So the lawyer started fighting it. They said, yes, he is our lead suspect because he went by there 3 times that day. Shows that he was casing the joint, whatever. And they had nothing else. So the lawyer was fighting it. The lawyer does end up getting the charges eventually dropped.
Good.
Which was good.
That is good. That is good.
But I don't know if they didn't say if they ever caught the guy that did it. That was the part that I was a little saddened by, but
that's unfortunate.
At least Zachary McCoy was not. At least Zachary McCoy did not go to jail for this. Unlike Jorge Molina out of Arizona.
Jorge Molina, who incidentally, if you look up Jorge Molina, I don't know if this guy's a model or what's going on, but he has a ton of like really nice, high quality, like introspective art looking. I don't know much of, maybe you can tell me about him, but I wish that more people that we covered on this show had like top quality photos like this. Like I was hoping there was more about Jorge with this, just so I could have more photos like this for the show. So yeah, so Jorge Molina ends up getting arrested.
He was arrested due to the same geofencing warrant techniques, but the results were not the same as what happened with Zachary. He was arrested for murder. He was arrested for murder and held in jail for over a week before they released him when they realized that they had no case against him.
Goodness.
And somebody else actually committed the murder.
So this was a completely unrelated case, obviously.
Right. This is Arizona and Florida.
So is this is what, 0 for 2, or they're just not telling us about the other times this is being used?
They're not telling us about the other times this is being used.
All right.
Sadly, the guy who did commit the guy that did commit the murder knew Jorge and borrowed his car to go do it. And Jorge's phone was in the car. But he had no way of knowing. Like he had no way of knowing that he went by that area all the time. So it was like, yeah, no, I was probably there. Yeah, so he ended up being arrested for murder. But no matter what, geofencing warrants. This is like, it's a privacy nightmare that we are all dealing with it every day. Like there is no way to really know if your information has
if you're swept up in it. Yeah.
Right. There is no way to know. They could request more information on you personally, maybe, and that's maybe how Zachary McCoy found out.
Right.
But you may have come up in a geofencing warrant at some point, and they looked at everywhere that you've been, and every single day, we carry around these things.
Yep.
And they tell everybody.
They tell on you.
They tell everybody where you're at.
You walk around with a dry snitch all day long.
All day long.
Who not only has your GPS data, it's got a front camera and a back camera. So if you got it out,
and a microphone.
It sees you and what you're looking at and what you have to say about it.
And what anybody else around you has to say.
And what anyone else has to say about it. Like, it is, it's like the memes where they say, people that would say, they're going to have spies in your homes in the 80s, government, drones in your homes listening to everything that you say, government bugs in your homes. And people go, oh, that's crazy. And now we go, government bug, pull up a recipe for cheesecake or whatever. Like it's, we're so like, we're talking about it, but yet we're still going to keep doing it because we're just so married to these things now. They're like an extension of us. And there are many good things about it. Like I'm constantly looking things up for knowledge, and I don't have to worry about retaining it as much because I can just get it anytime I want. I can either save it on my phone or just go back online wherever it is. Like,
it's actually kind of a problem.
That's also a problem. But it's I mean, it's very helpful. It's an incredible tool. We are arguably already becoming cyborgs because it's not attached to us yet, but we're like really, really, really emotionally tied to these
We're
things.
attached to it.
We're attached. Like, take it
You ever
away
leave
from
your
someone.
phone at home?
Yeah.
Your heart, like,
Yeah. Like,
you feel uncomfortable.
tell someone they can't use their phone. Take a phone from someone for like a day and see how they react. Like, this is a serious thing where and it's snitching on you the whole time. And so they can grab this stuff. You have no idea how many times the police looked at all your stuff. Hopefully Google lets you know at least. I hope that wasn't an outlier.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if that was an outlier. I just know that Google let him know that they were looking at it, that the police were looking at him, and that freaked him out.
I hope.
Understandably, because he hadn't committed a crime.
That would be alarming to many.
Yes.
I mean, that's freaking crazy.
I could not imagine being Chris Reynolds saying that nobody wants my information, so I'm probably okay. But let's say I'm not okay. Like, I do lead a pretty boring life. I go between wherever I am living to a Kava bar, to Chris's office where he uses Siri a lot, to a Kava bar.
Oh, they know where you are.
Yeah, I think they can figure that out really easily. But like, if I get accused of a crime that I committed, I can live with it. I'm going to be upset with myself, but I can live with the fact that it's happening. However, if I get accused of a crime that I had nothing to do with, I'd be pissed.
I would be pissed off. And we're going to talk more about an extreme case of that at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that. One that's just beyond anything else. But no, I mean, imagine being in court fighting a charge that you know that you had nothing to do with, but they've got all this ridiculous circumstantial evidence, and you know they're pressuring you to sign a piece of paper so you don't go to prison, and you know you can go back and be free and not have to spend any more money on attorneys, and you've got a jury staring you down, and you've got a judge, you know, blocking any real good evidence that you have because they're incentivized to get as many cases through as possible and get as many convictions as possible. I mean, that is a scary, scary setup. That is scary.
Yeah.
That is extremely frightening. So, speaking of extremely frightening, the reality is, what's going on?
Matt Hicks just left a comment that you should. I'm not reading it out loud.
So, speaking of things that are scary, and I'm not going to read out. Well, I guess I am going to read this stuff out loud. Speaking of things that I am going to read out loud, but are scary. Welcome to Muddied Waters of Freedom's not so Super Tuesday coverage tonight. That's already started because Joe Biden already won Mississippi and Missouri.
Right. And so Michigan just ended, and early reports say that this is a landslide.
Oh, wow. Oh, God.
Now, that's early reports. Now, it does say, the most recent update says that Kent County, which is home to Grand Rapids, just... Bernie Sanders won that, and that's going to be one of the bigger ones in Michigan.
So what I'm seeing is with 21% reporting, Joe Biden is currently ahead 52% to 41%. Now, keeping in mind that, and Michael Bloomberg's got 2.2%, Liz Warren, 1%, Pete Buttigieg, 0.8%, and Tulsi Gabbard, who's actually still in the race, 0.7%. And Amy Klobuchar, 0.4%. Andrew Yang, 0.1%. And then after that, Marianne Williamson, 0.1%. Yeah, Marianne Williamson, who today released a coronavirus meditation
Did she?
to fight the coronavirus.
If I had known that, I would have pulled that.
I would have too. I should have. And I love how she worded it. She said, "Here's a coronavirus meditations, and the haters will hate it." She at least is She at least is aware of how that would be received by many.
The New York Times has already called Michigan for Biden.
Yeah.
Want to let you know.
Just updated again. 31% reporting. Joe Biden now at 52. So it's going up. He's now at 53.1%. To Bernie Sanders, 41.2%. Michael Bloomberg has lost 0.2%. He is now at 2%. And Liz Warren lost 0.1%. She is now at 0.9%.
So a lot of people, a lot of Bernie bras, the Bernie brethren out there, they were hinging a lot on Michigan. And if you were paying attention to anything since you last saw these two beautiful, these two beautiful faces. Where's my finger? There it is. Everything's moved on me here. It's weird. Since you last saw these two beautiful faces, everybody was saying that. This one, that one. Yeah, this guy. These faces. A lot of the Bernie people, they were hinging a lot on Michigan. Because back in 2016,
he won it. Yeah,
he won it, but he was down in the polls by 31 the day before. Yep. So everybody thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win it, and she was just going to keep steamrolling through. This time he was down by 25. A lot of people were saying, yes, this is going to be a lot like it was in 2016. Made a lot of sense.
Yeah,
made a lot of sense.
It was a legitimate potential thing because A, it happened before, and B, Joe Biden's newsiest thing that happened in Michigan was that he screamed at a construction worker. So, but that's always the newsiest thing about Joe Biden is some stupid, terrible thing he did.
That is always the newsiest thing about Joe Biden.
Like, when was the last thing something newsy about Joe Biden was like this great thing? Like he said some, fantastic thing. Or he did some amazing thing. It's always something stupid that he did. And it's every week. So anyway, I could see why they would want that. Turns out, this is Joe Biden is, at this point, they're saying he's going to get the majority of delegates, right? Like that. This isn't even going to be contested or
So actually, it still could.
Okay.
But that's only if somebody puts their name in last minute at the convention.
Even if he gets the majority of delegates?
Even if you've gone out and campaigned, you can put your name in at the beginning of convention. I researched it a little bit further, and you can do that. You can just announce from the floor that you're running.
Wait. If he already got 1,992 or 91 delegates or whatever, isn't that all? It doesn't matter because he's already...
No, because delegates can vote for whoever they want. It's just it's very electoral college-y, where the delegates are given to the people who get the most amount percentage-wise of the votes, but the delegates don't have to vote that way.
Oh, I thought they were bound. I thought they were like legally bound.
Not each party makes up their own rules, and apparently not. Now, a lot of people have been kind of wondering about what happened with Bernie Sanders, and they were saying it's a DNC conspiracy, which may be partially.
Yeah,
not gonna rule it out. But the truth of the matter is, Bernie's base is young.
Yes.
And depending on which state voted on Super Tuesday, the statistics of them coming out were 9 to 18%. 9% in some states that Bernie's main demographic didn't show up to vote
91% of them did not come out.
in certain states. Yeah.
Well, it ain't because they're voting for Trump. Well, I mean, some are, but it's not because, 91% are. Wow.
Yeah.
Boomers vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. It's between 5 and 19%.
Yee.
So there were certain states that 95% of the 18 to 29 or whatever it is, that demographic didn't show up.
Guys, you wonder why politicians say things that are mind-bogglingly stupid. And I'm not talking about Joe Biden saying, "Oh, you can't yell for fire, and that's why the machine gun." Like, I'm talking about where they're like articulating policies that are just stupid, and they're saying the stupidest, most pandery garbage, and you think, "What kind of boomer nonsense is this?"
Yep.
You've answered your own question.
It's because you don't go out to vote.
It's because the boomers vote. People talk about the black vote or the Hispanic vote or the
which
whatever.
Bernie is doing really well with the Hispanic vote, and he's doing really well with the black vote under the age of 40.
Yeah.
Anything over that, he's doing awful.
Yeah.
And Biden is killing it. Like in some areas, Biden was getting like 65% of the black vote over 40.
Because that's who came out to vote. It's a shame, Matt, that there haven't been two extremely talented and breathtakingly attractive gentlemen who had a show, a podcast, if you will, who had been saying since the beginning of 2019, possibly even the end of 2018, that Joe Biden was going to win the Democratic nomination on the strength of the fact that boomers vote in a block. They don't pay attention to day-to-day news cycles for the most part. And Joe Biden was Barack Obama's vice president and therefore would have the greatest name recognition when they show up and decide essentially on the spot who they'd like to be the next president. It's a real shame no one's been saying that repeatedly.
Yeah, you kind of wish that you had somebody with that kind of foresight out there telling you what was going to happen.
Perhaps a Jew in South Carolina and a WASP in Tampa Bay area.
A WASP?
You're a WASP?
I'm not Protestant.
Well, I mean, okay, fine. A WASA. If only there had been, if only you'd rather be a WASA. If only two gentlemen, maybe that resemble who you're looking at now, had been saying that this is exactly what was going to happen during all of the fanfare of Kamala Mania and well, there never was Corey Mania.
There wasn't Corey. Yeah,
wow.
There wasn't Corey Mania.
Wow. We had Buttigieg Mania and we didn't have Corey Mania. Holy hell. We even had the mild, very brief Beto Mania.
Yeah.
But no Corey Mania. All of these different things. And, Kamala, she canceled him with her talk about being the black
second
girl that he kept off the bus himself.
Lie.
All of that, which was a lie. All of that. We have consistently said that if we're correct, Joe Biden is going to get the nomination as recently as the New Hampshire primaries, where it was now, who's going to win between Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg? And I even said it was possible. It was possible that Joe Biden was going to lose so much momentum having waited for South Carolina that he was not, he just couldn't get it back. And plus, who can anticipate him being, devolving or falling apart, in real time in front of us, like that badly? Like who could have anticipated that 2 years ago? And then we saw the polls coming out of South Carolina and immediately said, yep, no, everything we've been saying for the last year and a half, that's still going to happen.
Yeah. We have called this from the beginning. And we will continue to call it correctly.
Name recognition, boomer votes, and the fact that, yes, the DNC wanted Joe Biden. They've always wanted Joe Biden. When Joe Biden started looking bad, all of a sudden they pushed Pete Buttigieg. All of a sudden they pushed, even tried Klobuchar to push whatever they could. Do you know why the whole shadow app thing happened in Iowa? It wasn't because they thought Pete Buttigieg was going to be your next president, and so they were going to try to win it for him. It was so that they could do anything to obfuscate any kind of narrative about Bernie-mentum, about Bernie Sanders getting momentum and becoming the inevitable candidate. Because if he had swept in Iowa and New Hampshire and Nevada, it would have been a lot stronger of a story that, is he going to win in South Carolina? So they did everything they could. All of a sudden, one of the wealthiest men on earth showed up to say, I decided after the filing date for all of the early states that I'd like to be a president because suddenly I'm like really bad about timing after being able to start a multi-billion-dollar business from scratch. Now I suck at, getting stuff in.
Mayor.
And becoming the mayor of the freaking most populous state in the West. But I missed some filings because I'm just such a klutz. And I'm going to spend $500 million mostly attacking Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to drop out and endorse Joe Biden. So
Bernie Sanders does have a slight lead in the polls in Washington, Idaho, and North Dakota, but margins are very slim.
Are those other states that are doing their primaries
today? Yeah.
Today? Okay.
Washington, Idaho, North Dakota. Yeah, those are the other three.
Okay.
Biden so far is 3-0 on the day. The primaries, the polls, the margins in those states are very slim, and all of it comes down to how much of the youth shows up
in Idaho,
North Dakota,
and Washington. Now, Washington, we're not going to know.
Right. Washington, we're not going to know.
That's not going to happen today.
Right.
So what I'm seeing is, are you going by exit polls? Because there's no vote counts yet in Idaho or Washington.
No, those are just the polls on.
Okay, so these polls haven't even closed yet. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they still haven't closed. They close at 10 o'clock our time, I think.
Wow. So it turns out, guys, if you're supporting a political candidate and you want them to win, you got to vote for them.
Yeah, you got to show up on election day. And if you're I need my job kind of person, I don't think they can fire you for voting.
Yeah, I think it's like federal law that they can't actually require, like they can't give you a hard time about it. But I mean, so they'll give you a hard time about something else. This speaks to why, the case for like Washington saying, that you just mail it in. We'll send them out to everyone, and then you just mail it in at your leisure.
Right.
Because this really does hurt the poor, the working poor, and the youth. It helps middle and upper middle class boomers and retirees who have all day long to wait in a polling place. Why not? So,
yeah, Idaho and North Dakota haven't closed yet, and and we won't know. Results expected around 11 o'clock for Idaho.
Okay.
I don't plan on being on the air at 11
I definitely do not plan on being on the air. But here's, like you said, Michigan was the big one today.
Yeah, 125 electoral votes in that one.
Who was going to win Michigan? Joe Biden won it convincingly.
And
the media narrative's going to be that. Washington's not going to factor in. Idaho and whatever, North Dakota aren't going to factor in. Because, I mean, look at it. If you look at the delegate count right now, it still looks like it's a competitive race, right? Like it still looks like it's, Joe Biden's got 715, Bernie Sanders got 584. But you have to look at the narrative that's being crafted. That Joe Biden is the people's candidate. He is the inevitable one. He's got the boomers. He's got black voters, which essentially just means he has old voters. He has voters that are all older than us. He's got that locked down, and they show up and vote as a block, regardless of color. That's a big one for people to remember. In the primaries, boomers vote as a block, regardless of color. And we're seeing that. That's how Obama won. Obama convinced boomers that he was better than Hillary. And that was the end of that. And it took him a while to do that.
It did. It helped with that Ted Kennedy came out shortly after he won South Carolina, which of course he was going to win South Carolina.
Of course he was going to win South Carolina.
South
Carolina's... Go ahead.
What's up?
No, I was going to say South Carolina's Democrat voters are like 60% black. And Barack Obama was presented as, and obviously presented correctly, as the first black candidate for president who actually had a shot of doing it. And so that was not something that black voters in a former Jim Crow state were going to give up an opportunity on. And so that was, and then after that, like you said, Ted Kennedy endorsed him. That got him the white boomers, and that was the end of that.
And that was the end of it.
That was the end of that. Yeah.
I mean, it was still a really close election, and a lot of that had to do with what was that called? Operation Chaos.
With Republicans voting for Hillary to try to keep it close. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right, and there were a couple of states that Hillary pulled out because of Operation Chaos. Did I freeze? No.
You froze a little bit, but we don't have any drop frames, so that must be on your end.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm certain it is.
Yeah. So that's what's happening on our Not So Super Tuesday. But here's something that is so super. Do we have Chris? We have anything from Chris?
We got a couple from.
Okay, and that would be the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment, where Chris Reynolds, and any of you could do it too if you wanted to. I don't know why you don't. Any of you,
like literally, you'll be on the show.
Just literally can be on the show if you want. Just leave us a message by going to anchor.fm/muddywaters. Yeah.
And if anybody out there wants a Chris Reynolds law shirt autographed by me, let me know and send me money.
And we'll do that.
I might even get Chris to sign it.
Yeah, we'll get, for extra money, we'll get Chris to sign it too.
Right.
If you're feeling froggy, you have it sent up to me. I'll sign it. We'll auction it off. So here's the first message from Chris Reynolds.
Personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds here with your AOC Millennial Minute. We've got another slate, of course, of primaries, most notably Michigan. Most pundits are claiming that this is what they like to call make or break time for Bernie Sanders. That if he does not win Michigan, he really doesn't have much of a viable chance. Obviously, Michigan is also a pretty important state for the general. And so I got a couple questions. One, do you agree that this is kind of that make or break time for Bernie? And two, let's say he does not win Michigan. What can we expect? Is it going to be similar to last time where he fights to the bitter end and things remain pretty divisive? Or might the Trump presidency have changed things and he concedes early? Thanks.
So
we're beyond make or break. I mean,
so yeah, obviously he didn't win Michigan. We've already kind of established that.
Right.
Florida is next week, and they have a bunch of. I think they have the third highest amount of delegates, and then New York is coming up in a week or two after that. Bernie's not winning Florida.
Yeah.
A lot of the brethren in Florida believe he is, but that's not happening.
If he didn't win Michigan, he's not going to win Florida.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
So no matter what, yes, Michigan, I think, was make or break for him. I think he needed to win Michigan. He needed to have a strong showing to that. You knew he wasn't going to win Mississippi. Missouri could have gone either way, but probably it was going to go it looked like it was going to go to Biden. Michigan, he needed it.
Michigan was his make or break. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And now that it's over, his campaign is absolutely done. But okay, so his campaign has no chance of winning at this point, I would say.
Yeah.
As far as the second portion of that, will he go fight until the bitter end? Yes.
Yes, he has to. That's his brand.
That is his brand. He will fight that all the way to the bitter end, up until he somehow ends up with a fourth house. Whatever happened last time, and he ended up with his third house. Biden will. They'll make some deal at convention, or shortly before convention, and then
they'll have to. Yeah.
And then Bernie will give him all of his delegates. And I was actually talking with a member of the Bernie Brethren last night, and the Bernie people, they are ride or die.
Yeah.
They are Bernie or bust.
Yep.
And that's it. And he was talking to me about a couple of different Bernie supporters, including himself, and he said that he would not vote for Biden and he would not vote for Trump, but instead they're going to vote for whichever third party has the best chance of getting 5%, which would be Spike. And I think that
you're looking at, but I just like everyone to just take a moment. You're looking at potentially the third largest vote getter, maybe even the second largest vote getter in the next presidential and vice presidential election, maybe even the first. Definitely the third.
Definitely the third.
Definitely the third.
Definitely getting the third.
Possibly the second. Maybe even the winner.
That's right.
None of those things are illegal. It is not against the law for me to come in second or first.
If we can get those 18 to 30-year-olds to vote.
Yep. You learned your lesson. You have to come out and vote.
You have to come out and vote. Very important.
You learned it with Bernie. Demonstrate it with Vermin. You actually outnumber boomers.
That's true.
There are more of you than boomers. But they vote. Listen, if you want to be an agorist and an anarchist and join me out in Anarchapistan, whatever, and form our fine, but you don't get to be a democratic socialist and then not vote.
That's true.
That's a major component of democratic socialism is voting. You kind of have to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of in that contract that you sign when you become one.
At birth.
At birth.
It's part of the social contract. You have to, you don't get to be you don't get to want to vote for stuff and then not.
You don't get to complain if you don't vote.
If you want to be a part of this, I vote for things to happen for me, you have to then do it.
Right.
Boomers do it. Boomers get the stuff they want. Social Security is not going anywhere. Every other part of the federal government will be completely dissolved and replaced with a federal government that is nothing more than a bill-paying mechanism that steals money from you to give to your parents and grandparents because they vote. long after they are selling off
And the military. And the military. If boomers are voting,
if it comes down to Social Security or the military, we will live in an era of unprecedented world peace. With the end of the, I'm telling, like, yes, and all other things being equal, and the military. But I'm telling you right now, if Social Security and Medicare, if we say, you know what, if we're gonna keep this, that will be done. The military, I'll tell you one group in this country that could completely end the military-industrial complex is boomers being told that it threatens their Social Security and Medicare because they vote.
That's actually a really good point. Like, I know my family members would never vote against the military outside of like me. But for a lot of them, a lot of boomers, they are definitely gonna choose Social Security over the military. I've been paying into it my whole life.
I've been paying into it. That's my money.
That's my money. No, it's not.
If they want to stop it for other people, that's fine. But they need to pay me back what I paid into it.
Yep.
I have that conversation with libertarians who are boomers, who will tell me, if they want to stop, that's fine. But they got to pay me back for my money I put into it. And I try to remind them that most of the politicians that were in office when they were working are dead. They are dead now. So you are welcome to try to sue their estates and leave my money alone. I would welcome that. So, yeah, no, that's definitely... You know, you learned a powerful lesson, kids. So come out and vote for Vermin Supreme and me. But actually, like, do it. So, So, no, Bernie's definitely not going to concede, or he will fight. Especially now that I know that there's this potential that's not going to happen of delegates, faithless delegates choosing Bernie at the, even though Biden got with that, and that is 100% not going to happen. If that didn't happen for Trump, it's definitely not happening for Biden. But Bernie has to ride the optimism of his supporters before he ultimately endorses Biden. In fact, he even said in an interview a few days ago that he would endorse Biden if he won it, right? Or he would support Biden if he won the nomination.
He did. Yeah, no, he did say that.
So there's that, because some people are like, well, what if Joe Biden? So like the libertarians and anarchists, we talk about the boogaloo. The version of that on the left side, especially like the democratic socialist side, is like the revolution. The night of the guillotines, and that Bernie Sanders is going to call for this. He is 1,000,000% not going to do that. He's going to endorse Joe Biden. He's going to give a couple of extremely lackluster appearances supporting him. And then he is going to go back to whatever number of houses he has at that point.
It'll be 4.
It'll be he's definitely not losing any.
He's not going to lose a house.
It will probably be a net gain of 1 house. That historically is how it has worked. Vermin Supreme loves you. I love you. You have to vote for us. So here is our next one from Chris Reynolds.
Personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds here with your Celebrity Corner. So one of the more pressing questions I think that most people want to know about has to do with, obviously, Wilford Brimley and the fact that he was 50 years old when he did Cocoon. And of all the people who are now old enough to be in Cocoon and play that role, actors such as Tom Cruise or Any of these handsome actors. Which one is the most shocking? And I would love for Spike to tell me, especially since he's pretty good with fashion and Hollywood stuff. Which one is the most shocking revelation that this person is older than Wilford Brimley was in Cocoon?
Do you want a list of those people?
So just fine. So they're remaking Cocoon, or this
No,
is just...
they aren't. So,
because I got thrown by the Wilford Brimley thing. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't ready. I thought it was gonna be like some kind of like Gilmore Girls reboot or like whatever. Like these are Chris's questions tend to be.
So can you hear me at least?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, having a Tom Cruise is 50 years old.
Yes.
Tom Cruise is 50 years old.
Yes.
He might be 51. And he has 2 Mission Impossible movies coming out in the next few years. Still doing great action work. Liam Neeson, another guy. Wilford Brimley, when he starred in Cocoon,
was 50.
And he looks exactly the same today as he did when he was 50.
Because he's been looking 80 for,
right,
30 years. Right.
So you've got people who are old enough to play in Cocoon as 50, being over 50, are Tom Cruise, Eddie Murphy, Michael Scott from The Office, whose name I just blanked on.
Steve Carell.
Robert Downey Jr. God, I had a whole list of these earlier today.
Denzel Washington.
Yeah,
Denzel Washington's like 60, I think. Like he's like
yeah. Hang on a second.
Denzel Washington's 65 years old.
Where is it?
That is incredible.
No, that is
well, Ellen's like 62.
No.
Yeah, Ellen is at least 61. Hold on. 62 years old. She just turned 62 in January. Which is incredible to me.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely
well. She
incredible.
Looks great because she hasn't had to deal with some, no good man.
Right.
That is.
And she has a very attractive wife.
She does. Now she also had what's her name before that? What was that crazy woman's name that she was with?
Oh, the I'm in, I'm out girl.
Yeah, I decided I'm not gay anymore.
Yeah.
Anne Hesh.
Yeah, Anne Hesh.
Freaking nutbag. I bet she might regret that.
Yeah, her career really went away.
Well, and Ellen's a billionaire. And I'm just thinking out loud, guys. If you've already done it the few times, I feel like you can keep in it for the long haul. Now, I'm not gay and never have been. But if at some point I was gay, and I'm with someone who's looking like they might end up being a billionaire, and then I think, hey, wait a minute, I'm not sure if I'm gay no more.
Yeah, that was really poorly thought out on her
I
part.
might be able to stick it out.
So you've got Tom Cruise, George Clooney, Jim Carrey, Steve Carell,
yeah,
Eddie Murphy,
mm-hmm.
Ricky Gervais,
okay,
Hugh Grant,
mm-hmm.
Matthew Ferris Bueller Broderick.
There's a name.
Woody Harrelson. Which one of those... Okay, let's do this in 2 ways. Which one's most shocking Ellen scared her straight.
Yeah, I
which
saw
one,
that.
which one is most shocking to be older than Wilford Brimley in Cocoon, and which one would play that role the best?
So here's the thing. None of them, they don't shock me that they're older than 50. They shock me that Wilford Brimley was only 50 when he did that. He really nailed the part of
really the most shocking part of that.
He really nailed the part of being a man well into his 70s. Which explains why he has, I experienced that movie as a child. I'm now a very grown man, and he still is occupying the same space in my, I guess in my brain as this like perpetually old man. So of course he's 30 years older, and I doubt he's 110. So, but honestly, if someone had told me, hey, Wilford Brimley's 100 years old, I would have been like, oh wow, good for him. Like I wouldn't have been shocked by that because that would have meant he was in 70 something when he did Cocoon. So who would? Okay, I'm experiencing less shock than existential dread at how at what this means for me. My mortality.
Jean-Luc Teskey said that I'm a bit of a vampire myself, and this is all like that's because I'm 20, forever.
Right. 20 something.
When we're doing this show, and however many years from now, will I still look like I'm 20, or will I look like Wilford Brimley? And my hope is no.
Your hope is no what?
I don't look like Wilford Brimley.
Okay.
Or that I still look 20.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're someone who is aging well.
Thank you.
I'm aging well externally.
Yeah.
My central nervous system and brain, not so much. Outside, I'm looking flawless. Well, and my hair. I'm not liking this question from Chris anymore.
Right.
Let's go to the positive part. Who would play that role the best out of who you just said?
Tom Cruise, George Clooney, Jim Carrey, Steve Carell, Eddie Murphy, Ricky Gervais, Hugh Grant, Matthew Broderick, Woody Harrelson.
God, they'd all suck. Compared to Wilford Brimley?
Yeah, compared to Wilford Brimley,
he was made for that role. Oh man, probably like one of the comedians, I would think, or maybe Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is like a good actor. See, I know you're gonna go do one of your things, but he nails roles that you kind of like wouldn't expect him to nail, for me anyway. Do you know who would do the best? And I know he's not on there because he's like way older, but Morgan Freeman.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But that's not really because he's well over 50.
Right. That one's just way too obvious.
Right.
Like out of those,
man,
Woody Harrelson.
I was just gonna say that.
Woody Harrelson.
He would probably do the best with that.
Easily, he would be the best. Although, if you saw the movie Foxcatcher, Steve Carell potentially could pull that off.
What I was gonna say is like I'd go with more of the comedian types out of those people.
Right, and Steve Carell, he's comedian.
Steve Carell. Jim Carrey's a good actor. He could maybe do that.
Yeah, Carrey could do it. Eddie Murphy could do it.
He could do it too. He's just taken it in a different direction. But yeah, right. He could do it. I
don't think anybody here couldn't do it.
What's that?
It would just be there's nobody on this list that couldn't do it. But the question is, like, which direction would they take it in? Like, how would they play it?
Right.
Like nobody would try to play it like Wilford Brimley because That would be like trying to play Sam Spade.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to play it like that. You'd have to make it your own thing because
Right,
no one's going to be
exactly.
able to do it. Honestly, if they're going to go that direction, just bring him back and do it again. Like he'd be, I'd actually watch that. That would be good. Speaking of which, here's a scary one. You know who's 55?
Ralph Macchio.
Possibly. John Leguizamo.
Oh, that's terrifying. That dude, man, he ages well.
He ages well, and what happened to apparently 20 years of my life? Like, this is scary stuff happening on this show. I hate this question. Like, a lot. Don't ask any more age questions, Chris. Like, this is not... I'm having an emotional moment. Don't do this to me. Let's hear it. Well, I'm sure the next one's going to be like, oh, what do you think about the fact that all of your ex's kids are in college? Like freaking hell.
Oh,
Chris.
God, that's actually kind of true for some of them.
It's true for me. Let's go.
Personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds here with your favorite segments, your segment where we ask Spike, was he right or wrong? Recently, I think as recently as last week, Spike and probably Matt as well, are pretty strong in their contention that the coronavirus is not something that we need to worry about. That it's, at most, twice as deadly as the flu, and it's really not a big deal. And this is just kind of a big fear-mongering type of thing. Over the last week, things have kind of changed, it feels like, but I don't know. So, as we ask in this question to Spike, were you wrong or not? Thanks.
I was wrong in terms of the virality of the thing. So initially, when I first said this was when there were like 800 and something people that were confirmed as having it in China and 50 deaths, and there were like 3 people in the States that had it. What I said was based on the previous coronaviruses, which were SARS and MERS, and I think that was it, SARS and MERS. And based on that, I made some assumptions. Based on that and the fact that the fatality rate of this thing was roughly 2%, possibly a little bit lower. I thought, well, and that part I was right, that it's probably around 2%, probably lower. I thought, well, then this is SARS minus, because SARS spread the way it did and had close to a 10% death rate. And I thought, well, maybe you guys should be washing your hands. Here's where I was not wrong, which I'd like to focus on. You should be washing your hands. And you should probably be getting the flu shot, especially if you're older. And you're probably still going to die of heart disease. Like, all the basics I said were correct. Like, if you go and eat a bunch of comfort food because of your fear of coronavirus, you're just really working your way closer to what you're probably going to die of, statistically. Yeah. So so I guess the basics of what I was trying to say, like, go wash your damn hands and like make your kids wash their hands and stop like making out with your pets. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I will say, I in the past few weeks, we've seen that it is actually not just more virulent and easy to spread than SARS or MERS. It's easier to spread than the flu. And I still contend that that the fatality rate is considerably lower than we're being told. The reason I think it's considerably lower is because I think somewhere between 10 and 1,000 times as many people have it as we're being told. There is no way that only 700 people or 800 people or whatever it's up to now have it in the U.S. when they're only testing a relative handful of people every day. Like, they're not scaling it up. The countries that are doing widespread testing, like Italy and South Korea and China, have way more people with it than we're saying we have. And they haven't had as many people having it there as long as we have. There's way more. I think there's probably anywhere from 10 and 100,000 Americans that already have it. Now, the good news of that is that the reason why we're not hearing it is because for most people, they're going to experience pretty much what they did with the flu. In fact, if you're a kid, you're going to probably experience nothing. Kids who get it, I think there was one fatality of a child in China, and they were already sick. So for kids, it's great. Now, the problem with that is, the flip side of that is, because they're not sick and staying home, and kids are like the dirtiest people of all people, they're out, rapidly spreading it, which is why they need to, why they have to end up shutting schools down and stuff like that, because the kids go and they all get it, and then they give it out to people who can get sick from it. So all I'm trying to say is, yes, I was wrong in its virality. I was not wrong in its deadliness, because it looks like it's anywhere from 2 to 20 times more deadly than the flu, which still means that the vast majority of people are not going to die from it. The elderly and people that are very sick are more likely to die from it than the flu. Especially the very elderly are like way more likely to die of it than they are from the flu. It's like a lot higher. But my overall sentiment that you should have already been washing your hands and sanitizing your hands and like being mindful of disease, that already should have been happening. So no, I was not wrong, Chris. I was right. And don't ask me about people's ages ever again. Are you back?
Now old. Ralph Macchio is now older than Pat Morita was when they did karate.
That's terrible. I don't want to hear any of this anymore, Matt.
Fair. Is there another one? I don't even know if there's another one.
No, that was it.
Okay.
That was it. And if there wasn't, that would still be it. No, that was it. So we're going to be ending on a topic, and I guess we'll do an update in a bit on, we can go ahead and do an update now. Michigan primary.
I actually switched off of that page so I could find the Wilford Brimley thing.
Yeah, so Joe Biden's lead is growing in Michigan, so it's over. It's over.
Oh, yeah, no,
it's over. And then he already won Mississippi, and the other ones we're not going to find out while the show's still going. So yeah, so that was fun. That was fun. So this topic is infuriating. This is basically about the worst thing government can do to someone.
Right.
Like murder them and hold them hostage for years and torture them by letting them know they're going to get murdered later on, and hold them hostage in the meantime. We're talking about a case of a man named Nathaniel Woods, Nate Woods, who was killed on the 5th, which was Thursday, this past Thursday. He was killed at 9:01 p.m. Alabama, the state of Alabama, executed this man, Nate Woods, who had not killed anyone. And they don't dispute that, Matt.
They do not. They do not dispute that even a little bit.
So back in 2004, Nate had a drug problem, and he did sell drugs to make money and feed his habit, which is very common.
Very common.
When they talk about drug dealers, we picture, like on TV and, The Wire and on the,
right, you think Scarface.
Yeah, you're thinking kingpins, and there are people who do that. But the vast majority of drug dealers, the people that are actually doing the end transaction to the end user, are other addicts who buy drugs, sell off enough of it to cover the cost of their drugs, and then use their drugs. Like that's
they're very entrepreneurial. Like a lot of them are.
They're finding a way to feed their habit. If they don't have money, they got to feed it somehow. And there's only so much, begging, borrowing, and stealing you can do. So you're already buying the drugs. You just sell it to other people. And so that's very common. So the police came by, and Nate had shouted at them to leave, and he was yelling obscenities at them, allegedly. But let's just say he was. Let's say
I don't think that's a disputed fact.
Okay, well, good. Whether it is or not, let's just pretend it isn't. He yelled obscenities. He shouted at them and told them to leave. He swore at them. The police found out that Nate had an outstanding warrant, and they came back inside to arrest him. They had him in handcuffs outside the house. When they came back in, Nate's roommate...
After arresting him and pulling him outside the house, and they came back in.
Right. When the police came back in, Carrie Spencer... who was asleep when they had arrived, woke up and saw a gun pointed at him. We can dispute whether he knew it was police or not, but he saw a gun pointed at him. He pulled out a gun. He killed 3 of the officers and injured the 4th. So Nate admits to selling drugs. He did not kill a person. That is not in dispute. He did not have a gun at the night of the incident. That's not in dispute. Carrie, the guy who shot them, said to anyone who would listen, including even now, because he hasn't been killed yet, he's still on death row. What's that?
I was reiterating the point that you had just made.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's still there. He has said that Nate didn't kill anyone. He even wrote an open letter that he sent out right before Nate was executed. He tried to say so at trial. Was not allowed to.
Yep.
The judge would not allow the testimony of the shooter saying that Nate didn't do it at Nate's trial.
Yep.
Would
not allow the person who shot them
who actually shot them. Who would have had a vested interest in saying Nate did it? He could have maybe pled down and gotten life imprisonment. Maybe not, but there's a possibility that he could have, ratted out Nate and said, "Oh, well, he was the guy who planned the ambush and told me to do it," and maybe he ends up getting life in prison, and Nate gets the death penalty. He didn't rat out his friend. No, I say rat out his friend. He didn't say he still said what is painfully obvious.
He didn't throw his friend under the bus.
He didn't throw his friend under the bus.
Right. When he definitely could have.
When he absolutely could have.
He didn't do this. And it made zero difference.
Nate didn't do it. Nate's defense team was inexperienced, unused. They weren't used to criminal cases of this magnitude. And they clearly gave him an absolute garbage defense.
Garbage defense.
This is Nate at trial. I want you to look at this face. And I want you to picture being on trial for murdering someone.
Murdering 3 people.
Murdering 3 people when everyone acknowledges that you didn't do it, including the prosecutors. This is the kind of face I would make in that kind of situation.
That's right.
This is someone who is... I can't even imagine the level of frustration and anger at that situation. I can't.
The prosecution argued that due to Nate writing down Dr. Dre lyrics referring to cops as pigs, that it showed some sort of history. Some sort of history that proves that he conspired to do this.
And didn't he write that?
Because in 2004?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2004. In 2004, a black man listened to Dr. Dre.
And didn't he write that in jail?
Possibly.
I believe, maybe I'm wrong. I
think
believe he wrote
possibly.
that. I believe he wrote that in jail. Now imagine you've been arrested for murdering people that everyone knows you didn't murder. I would possibly write negative things about the police as well. I mean, I already do.
Right.
But I would write really negative things about the police.
They argued that he conspired with a sleeping man.
Yep.
With a guy sleeping on the couch and convinced the sleeping guy to shoot all police officers who happened to come into the house after that moment.
After that moment. He used telepathy on a sleeping man.
He inceptioned him.
He prefigured that this would happen.
Now, obviously, incompetent jury, or not jury, lawyers.
Right.
The jury ruled 10-2 to send him to death. It wasn't a unanimous decision.
10-2.
10-2. Two people said no, he should not die.
It is beyond ridiculous. They didn't even they couldn't even get 12 people to do it. It's scary that they got 10 people to do it. But again, they didn't know what we know. They were having a terrible defense. I can't even imagine how. I would love to see. Part of me would love to see like the transcripts and the video of that trial if there is such a thing, and the other part probably doesn't want to see it. Just watching a man getting murdered in slow motion. They clearly just completely screwed him. And so in the years and days running up to his execution, more than 100,000 people signed a petition to commute the execution and delivered it to the murderer, Governor Kay Ivey, who obviously shot it down. People like Kim Kardashian, who has emerged as a civil liberties
she is a
warrior.
Criminal. Yeah, she has come out as a civil liberties and criminal justice reform warrior. What she
like a
has
legit
done
one. Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't like Kim Kardashian.
No, I know.
Sorry, let me rephrase that. I didn't like Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, exactly.
But what she is
same.
doing here makes me respect her. I still don't like her that much.
Well, you don't have to like her, but yeah,
crap out of what she is doing.
Listen, here is someone I hated what Kim Kardashian stood for. Even though I didn't really hate her as a person, but the idea that you like leverage this like sex tape into a career of being famous for being famous, and you really are just known for being this sort of vapid consumer of goods that people watch. And again, the market has spoken. If that's what the market wants to watch, then that's what it is. I don't have to like it, and clearly Matt doesn't either. And so I was never really a fan. If all that happened for Kim to be able to do the stuff she's doing, then great. So I think it's terrific what Kim does. So Kim, Martin Luther King III, and Senator Doug Jones of Alabama also reached out to the murderer Kay Ivey, but there was no response because she's a murderer. Now at 5:30 so a few hours before his scheduled execution, we did get some hope when Justice Clarence Thomas of the Supreme Court stayed the execution to consider outstanding motions in the case, including those dealing with the inadequate counsel, Wood's ability to opt into the nitrogen hypoxia method of execution, which I guess is a more humane version.
So what the nitrogen hypoxia method, if he was never told this, if you opted into it, you were kind of pushed back on the execution schedule.
Oh, okay.
If you didn't opt into it, you were pushed to the front.
So that's probably why Carrie Spencer still hasn't been executed.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially. Yeah. Or maybe he might have had better lawyers and it took longer for them to prosecute him, even though he actually killed them.
Right.
So anyway, all this to say that, so Justice Clarence Thomas stayed the execution. I'm going to show you a video of Nate's family reacting to finding out that there was a stay of execution. And so this is the brother or one of the people saying, okay, look at these folks that are celebrating right now. Picture you've been going through this since 2004 or 2005 when he was convicted.
Right.
And for years has been leading up to this. And a few hours before, and you're just hoping beyond hope. And if you're religious, you're praying and whatever. You're anything you can do, just trying to think, maybe we can get Nate from getting killed. Maybe we can get him from getting killed. Maybe we can even get him freed. And at seemingly the last minute, a few hours before, 3.5 hours before, you hear there's been a stay. And you think, you saw the hope in their eyes. I'm gonna do it again. Because this is heartbreaking. That you think, this could be it. Maybe he'll be free. Or at the very least, they aren't going to kill him.
Right. We'll be able to visit him.
Again. That's another one. Even if they end up executing him, at the very least, maybe he'll get pushed back with the hypoxia thing or whatever, and we'll get to see him again. Something.
Right.
Now imagine after getting that brief bit of false hope, less than an hour later, you find out it was you just bought an hour.
Yeah, the rest of the justices shot it down.
Yep, they dismissed the motions, and they dismissed the motions after the both the governor and the Alabama Department of Justice all said that they had no interest in reviewing the case, that in their mind he was a dead man walking, and that he was totally guilty. And so based on that, the other justices dismissed the motions, and before 8 p.m. without even any comment, and Nate was murdered.
At 9:01.
9:01 p.m. Now, we don't use a lot of racially charged terminology on this show. Nate Woods was executed after being held for nearly 20 years in a cage for the crime of swearing at police officers. In my mind, this was a lynching. He was lynched. It took longer than it used to, and they went through more proper channels, but at the end of the day, a black man who hadn't hurt anyone was caged and then murdered for swearing. I call that a lynching. If you don't see it that way, at the very least, we should be able to acknowledge that an innocent man was murdered by the state after being held captive for decades.
Right. And I've seen many arguments about this, and I saw one used numerous times comparing Nate to Charles Manson. Charles Manson didn't kill anybody. Are you saying blah, blah, blah? Doesn't mean I don't care how you finish that sentence.
Like, really?
Charles Manson and Nate aren't even playing the same fucking sport.
No,
They
Charles Manson directed people to do things after getting them like completely bonked out on psychedelics for years or months or whatever, and feeding them this narrative of starting a race war. And how on earth is that comparable to someone who did nothing? He swore at cops, and he wrote some lyrics that were critical of the police, as many of us are wont to do on occasion, for far less.
The fact that he was untrusting of police. He was a black man in Alabama.
I wonder why he could possibly. Yeah, go ahead.
The fact that he was untrusting of police doesn't make him a cop killer. Which the day of the execution, the Alabama Attorney General called him that.
Even though they know he didn't. Even though they know he didn't.
The fact that he liked Dr. Dre.
Yep. He liked Dr. Dre, and he called cops pigs. I wonder why. He was untrusting of the police. I wonder why. It is absolutely incredible. And when you consider the fact that there are people that will defend this, knowing the facts, that tells you everything you want to know about the concept of a jury of your peers. But that's a whole other subject. Just outstanding. Nate Woods is a victim of the justice system, or was a victim of the justice system, because now he's dead.
Now his family is a victim of the justice system.
His family is a victim of the justice system. From the war on drugs, to the legal system, to the appeals system, the Supreme Court, at every single level, he has been failed, Matt.
Because he swore at cops and sold drugs. Everything about this story infuriates me. When they're when you hear the arguments of, we've never executed an innocent person. Yes, you have.
Yeah.
Yes, you have.
Yep, sure have.
He sold drugs. Okay. So that was a crime, but he would have been out of prison. I don't know Alabama's laws, but he
wouldn't have been executed.
He'd be alive.
He'd be alive.
Yep. They have failed massively. And in another year, nobody in Alabama is going to remember that guy's name outside of the Woods family and his friends, obviously, but nobody's going to think about it. Nobody's going to, and it is heartbreaking that in 2020, we still have an issue where this guy could not get a fair trial. He couldn't get a fair trial. The person who killed the police said he had nothing to do with it. I woke up, there was a gun in my face. I grabbed a gun and started shooting.
Yep.
I believe that was the direct quote.
Yep.
Nope. We don't care. You don't get to say that in front of the jury.
You don't get to testify that only you did it.
Right.
In a trial of someone who we're saying had something to do with it, by telling you to do this while you were asleep. If for no other reason than this execution happened, there should never be another execution again.
Ever. The state does not have the authority to decide who lives and who dies.
This is like, libertarians are against the death penalty because we believe that when you give the state, when you give government power to make a decision over us, that they most often end up using it in abusive and harmful and inequitable ways. The death penalty gives them the power to decide who lives and dies, like Matt said. We just saw how they used it. There's all sorts of data we can show you about how often the death penalty is used for people based on their income level and based on their ability to get a good attorney and based on skin color and we can show you all of that stuff.
And that was another thing that I was going to point out.
Yep.
Now, like we said, he had I totally forgot to put that in the notes. He had an inadequate defense.
Right.
Now imagine that he was Zachary McCoy. The reason Zachary McCoy didn't have as big of an issue as Jorge Molina.
Jorge Molina, yeah.
Is because he was able to get an attorney that would fight for him.
Yep. Even if you strip away the racial aspect of it, there's a money aspect to it too.
There's a money aspect of it.
Yep. Yep. If this guy had been accused of that, he could have gotten money from his parents, which is great. We're not like
it's great, yeah. And
we're not angry at this guy. Like we're not giving this guy a hard time. We
not
do
even a
like
little bit.
Any of us.
He had to go and ask his parents for the money. He didn't have it. Like
right.
He luckily had that to fall back on.
Even if he had the money, like what? Like I'm not mad at someone for being able to defend themselves.
No, not even a little bit.
Yeah.
The issue here is he was not given a fair trial because he was not given the defense that he needed.
Yep.
He was not given the defense that he needed, and because of that, starting at the very lowest level. I mean, the war on drugs is a failed war. It's failing. It's failing, and it violates people's rights, and it hurts families, and it rips them apart.
Mm-hmm.
And they just need to end it.
Yep.
So you've got failure there. You've got failure from the police force who said he swore at us. 3 cops end up dead. We're going after him as well.
Yep.
Because fuck him.
Because fuck that guy. Exactly.
That guy.
And that's literally what it comes down to. Even if you think there isn't a racial element to it, it was literally just because it's, in fact, in some way, that could even be worse. That they were just so callous to be like, yeah, fuck him too.
Mm-hmm.
We already got him on the drug thing, and he was there when we killed it. We're going to put it on him. And when the shooter says he had nothing to do with it, they say, yeah, well, you're never going to get to tell anyone that. Or tell the people who make the decision that.
The people who make the decisions.
It's just...
This is a...
We are libertarians because of stuff like this.
Yes.
Yep.
This is a travesty.
Yep.
This is an absolute travesty of the justice system. And when people are like, next time you're in trouble, call a crackhead. And all right, yeah.
I'd much rather call a crackhead.
I will. Because I don't want them taking somebody who doesn't deserve to die to prison and putting them on death row and sentencing them and killing them.
Yeah. No, I would much rather call a crackhead in most situations.
And if you're a libertarian out there who is pro death penalty, because there are some, I've met a few.
Yeah.
There are a few. And you say it's not really the state that's doing it. It's the jury of their peers. So it's not the state. It's these people. Okay. Fair. Except, they weren't allowed to hear all the evidence, and they weren't allowed to hear, and everything was slanted in order to do that. And they didn't give them the proper defense in order to handle a case like this. But it costs more money to kill somebody than it does to keep them in prison for life.
That's also true. Yeah.
Everything about the death penalty is anti-libertarian.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about it. The state should never, ever spend taxpayer dollars to decide who lives and who dies.
Yeah. Because you're gonna get this right here. You're gonna get this guy. You're gonna get more of these. We've had more of these. We will have more of these until this ends.
And before, we haven't gotten any comments on much of this, which I actually appreciate from everybody that's watching us right now. But before anybody throws in, what about a Ted Bundy or the guy that ate people whose name I can't remember right now? What was that guy's name?
Oh, Jeffrey Dahmer. He was killed in prison.
He was killed in prison. But do those people deserve to die? Yeah, probably. Does state do it? No. And you are talking about less than 1% of the people who ever go to death row. You are talking about less than 1%. It is an argument that so many people use, and it is an argument that doesn't matter because we are talking about something so minuscule.
Yep.
It's so tiny. And much like Jeffrey Dahmer, if they are that bad, they will probably get killed.
They'll probably end up, just put them in general population. I would rather John Wayne Gacy and, who are some other, some other people that have been executed for murder who obviously did it.
Killer?
Was he executed? I know he was convicted. I would rather John Wayne Gacy and any other 4 serial killers you can name not have been executed and instead be locked up for the rest of their lives and Nate still be alive. I would take that trade 1,000,000 times because here's what's going to happen, or what would have happened. At some point, it would have become painfully apparent that Nate didn't do it. And even if it took another 20 years, he'd get to come out. So I would, people go, oh, would you rather John Wayne Gacy? Yes. I'd rather John Wayne Gacy not have been executed and be, what's that?
Ted Bundy, any of this, all of them. Every person who's ever been executed who did it, who absolutely did it, no dispute at all. I would absolutely rather every single one of them be alive and in prison for the rest of their lives and Nate be alive. Not to mention all the other people who have been wrongfully executed that we don't know about. But even just Nate, even if it was just Nate, I would rather Nate be alive. So I think that's pretty. What Alabama did. It was.
And you want to talk about a lack of seriousness among some people? There are people that are ready to, boycott Alabama over, they would boycott them over a transgender bathroom bill. They would boycott them over, and I'm not trying to do whataboutism here. I'm not, and maybe I'm treading on that, and those are things that you have every right to. If you are ready to boycott a state over something like a transgender bathroom bill or something like
abortion bills,
and things like that. And again, I'm not telling you not to do that. I'm not telling you those aren't important things. I'm not telling you that those things aren't. Some people might even consider them life and death to specific individuals. What I'm telling you is that if you are that fired up about that, but wouldn't boycott over this man being executed, then I have to argue that your priorities may be somewhat skewed. And the fact that there isn't a large and growing boycott Alabama movement, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about something more positive, and that is an update, because literally we can
have those pictures up on the screen just real quick.
My pictures?
Mm-hmm.
As long as I need to.
Okay. Can you 30, 40 seconds?
Oh, that should be easy enough.
Okay.
So we're going to be doing a Vermin Supreme Spike Cohen update. I went to UNC Greensboro in Greensboro, North Carolina. And we went and visited the youths there, Team Supreme and the Libertarian Party of North Carolina working together. We went to the campus of UNC Greensboro to help start the affiliate of the Libertarian Party of UNC Greensboro. And Brent DeRitter and I, and Ryan Teeter, and Susan Hogarth, and Corbin and Joe, they're the ones starting the Libertarian Party of UNC Georgia, and their last names escape me at the moment. But we went and talked with literally hundreds of students there, about libertarianism. We opened by asking people if they own themselves, if they believe that they own themselves, which really opened up a lot of really interesting conversations. We invited them out to join. We got a bunch of people signed up for the Libertarian Party. That's a nice picture there. For the Libertarian Party of UNC Greensboro, and had a really good event. Signed up dozens of people. Spoke to hundreds of students, and just really had a good time. And in doing so I would say that I spoke to probably, I don't know, at least 50 students, 40 or 50 students who all knew who Vermin Supreme was without me having to. I would just say, do you know who Vermin Supreme was? Who Vermin Supreme is? And they would say, oh wow, yeah. And in fact, the girl in this picture right here that's signing up, when I came over to talk to her, she said, I like your pin. Do you like Vermin Supreme too? And I said, well, I'm actually his running mate. And she was real excited about that. But so, the youths absolutely know who, they already know who Vermin Supreme is. They are very, very receptive to the message of freedom and self-ownership and non-aggression. And we had, I would say I personally spoke to, at least 100 kids. And of the 100 students that I spoke with, maybe I think 5 or 6 of them they would just keep walking or say no thank you. They weren't interested. The vast majority of them at least stopped and talked to me for a couple minutes. Most of them spoke with me for quite a while and asked questions, and a few times we actually had groups that formed, based on other people hearing what we were talking about and wanting to come over and talk about it and give their opinions. Incredibly receptive to the message of liberty. A lot of people telling us that they would vote for me and Vermin Supreme, especially if their other options are Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And keep in mind, we're talking with these kids. These are kids who are very receptive to the message, and they are forming belief systems that most of them are going to keep for several decades, 40, 50, 60 years. Like, this is a serious, it's any age is a great age to get someone to support freedom and liberty. But especially at this age, especially young adults and teenagers, people who are forming their opinions, they're actually getting to form their opinions, and are, obviously, I don't like to use the word impressionable because it sounds like we're like trying to convince them of something, but they're learning what their established belief systems are going to be as adults, and most of them are going to keep those long after a lot of us are dead. So it's a very, very important thing. And so we had a really great event. We're going to be planning some more Pound the Pavement events throughout the Carolinas, working with affiliates in other states to do the same there. And, turns out, guys, if you want to grow libertarianism, you have to talk to people who aren't libertarians. And crucially, this is a crucial part of this, you have to demonstrate that you care about them at all and don't want to just argue with them and tell them how right you are and how much of a bootlicker they are and how stupid they are and how they need to read Rothbard. It's a good idea to actually have a conversation with them, see what they have to think. Be willing to listen to their opinions that you believe are wrong and have a little bit of a feel, felt, found conversation with them. And then maybe find some common ground, because maybe you're not going to convince them of libertarianism in its entirety, as it probably was not able to, you were probably not able to be convinced of it in its entirety with just a stump speech, an elevator speech. Takes time. You get a foot in the door. They're receptive to your message. They come out to meetings. You get to talk to them more. They ask about healthcare. You answer questions about this. Matt's clearly enjoying something over here.
I'm enjoying Chris Reynolds' commentary in the comments, as I normally do.
No, it was not an all-girls Listen. There was a very... I wish Stephen Messina and Brent DeRitter was here. because they spread some pretty. I'm going to show these pictures again. I like that one. Most of the people in this picture are male and white, because that was another thing that came up.
You have two gingers in that picture?
Yeah, we were sure one of them was libertarian. Turns out no. This is a male. Yes, there were women I spoke with. But I don't understand what the one of these kids is 13. It's Brent's daughter, and then and the one on the right there is the boyfriend. Here's two men there. I wonder if I can speed this thing up a little.
It's 2020.
These are some men. And what's the next one?
Did you make a slideshow?
Yeah, I made a slideshow. Look, mostly men in this picture. There is one woman. Women are allowed to talk about things. There's two men. These are mostly pictures of men. I don't know where this narrative happened. Look, more men.
That one's looking at your chest.
No, he's actually looking down at the thing that I sold. Oh no, a woman. This is a very powerful lesson in confirmation bias. Guys, it's okay. I would say that something like 60% of the people in these photos are men. And yet, everyone walked away saying, oh, Spike liked talking with the girls. It's a specific demographic of the girls, actually. And that's simply incorrect. I spoke with everyone. And am happily married. I'm happily married. I spoke with many men of various colors. Not that that would even matter. And I spoke with women, yes, also of varying colors. I am not in control of the admission demographics of UNC Greensboro. I talked to who was in front of me, including many men. So that's your Vermin Supreme Spike Cohen update.
So real quick before we close everything out, something that just came up that is actually quite interesting that I know that Uber fan Chris Reynolds is actually gonna like.
There was no pattern. Like
there are a large number of parallels between the 2020 Democratic primary and the 2004 Democratic primary, which was the John Kerry Howard Dean year.
Yeah. Oh, because John Edwards screwed up. Wow.
There was a crowded field.
Yeah.
Upstart candidate, think Howard Dean instead of Bernie Sanders in this one. Right? You had
from Vermont.
You had a sudden rallying around an establishment candidate, even if maybe he wasn't the voters' first choice.
Yeah.
That people started going to as people were dropping out.
Right.
The only thing that's missing is the Dean scream. The Now, literally moments after getting demolished in Michigan, Bernie Sanders did not do a scream.
Oh God! Oh no!
I know. I would be uploading that into Drive.
Oh, I was gonna look right now for it. Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, that
but
would have been funny.
He tweeted the screaming of 2020. I've got news for the Republican establishment. I've got news for the Democratic establishment. They can't stop us. Now, doesn't pack the same punch as the Howard Dean, which is still my favorite moment in all of politics ever. But yeah, they can. Yes, they can. You are losing.
They are stopping you. Yeah.
They are stopping you. The only thing that you can do to hurt any of them is run for the Green Party.
And don't sore loser laws kind of stymie him in doing that?
That depends. I don't know, actually.
I'm going to look at that.
No, because I think he can go and run. I think he can go and run in a different party. I think. I'm not sure.
Sore losers. Some states bar candidates who sought but failed to secure the nomination of a political party from running as independents or as nominees for another party in the general election, which is a total violation of your freedom of speech. But anyway, these restrictions are sometimes called sore loser laws. Some states have explicit sore loser. Others have requirements that operate in a similar fashion. So
I think that's going to be strictly for state elections. I don't think they have any say on national.
yeah, but you can't show up on their ballot is what happens. So here are the states that have sore loser laws. Oregon, California, Arizona, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. So
Florida has one too.
And Hawaii.
Was Florida?
Oh no, Florida has one too.
Yeah, Florida. You have to be in.
I'm reading this wrong. Every state in the union has sore loser laws except Iowa, New York, and Connecticut. So you could really rally in New York and Iowa and Connecticut.
Iowa and Connecticut.
And Connecticut to a lesser extent. So no, that's actually not something he could do.
Right. Okay.
Now he could tell what he could do is tell people to do a write-in campaign.
Right.
Which might, I mean, depending on how these laws are written, he might even get in trouble for that. But I mean, he could
like
screw.
Florida doesn't accept write-ins.
Oh, that's true.
There's going to be places where you just don't accept.
Well, he could tell people to hang their chads there. So.
And now he is saying that he is not going to come out and speak at all tonight. Oof. Probably a good call to avoid the. Probably a good call.
Man, but that would be avoid so that. Great.
But and his press secretary or media person is saying that he doesn't know when he will speak tomorrow. So. Bernie is
he's not having a good day.
Right. He is floundering here. Right.
Keep in mind, this man had a heart attack less than a year ago. I can tell you how stressful my campaign has been for me. And the stakes are arguably not as high. I'd argue they are. But there's been argument about that. I'm a young man with a well-functioning heart. It is incredibly stressful at times. And not even the, am I going to win, am I not going to win? Because there are some good people running. I think that I'm the best choice or I wouldn't be running. And I think Vermin's the best choice or I wouldn't be supporting him. But, it's not this, existential whatever.
AOC has chimed in.
Uh-oh.
Chris's favorite. AOC has chimed in, and she said there's no sugarcoating it. Tonight's a tough night. Tonight's a tough night electorally.
Where are you seeing this?
Man, I got my sources.
On Twitter?
No, it's on 538.
Oh, because the last thing from here is 9 hours ago. Anyway, Ouch. Ouch, guys.
Yeah. And right now, as of right now, 10% reporting in North Dakota. Bernie Sanders has a lead of 39% to Biden's 26%.
Interesting. Michigan was the big one today.
Yeah, Michigan was the only one that mattered today. There's some offshoot one this week. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's Thursday. And then next week there's Florida. And after Biden wins Florida, it's going
over.
to be over.
It's going to be over.
The only thing that's going to make any sort of a difference outside of that is going to be
New York.
How long he stays in.
I think
that's going to be the only story left.
Yeah, and Bernie will stay until the end because he's Bernie, and why wouldn't he? And Tulsi will stay into the end because why shouldn't she? But because she's not endorsing
if she's got the money to keep going, keep going.
And
go
I mean, what's even keep going at this moment? She doesn't have to go anywhere. Like, she can literally just stay in DC and say she's running. Like, there's not really anything she has to do at this point. But, so for Joe Biden.
And Brick Hart over on Periscope, which great that we're getting Periscope notifications again. That's awesome.
Oh, nice.
Washington is done voting tonight, but all of it's done by mail. So they aren't going to, and it just means that the ballots had to be mailed today. So we're not going to know Washington for at least a week.
Chris says, I bet Wilford Brimley could play Bernie in a movie about this election. I would watch that. Because his Bernie would suck. Like, the voice would suck, but they'd like dress him up with the messy hair and everything to like look like Bernie, but he'd still come out and just do his thing that he always does. Like, it would just be, I would watch that.
He'd be in the healthcare, except he wouldn't sound like that even a little bit.
Healthcare.
Because you can fix your diabetes.
That's unacceptable. 5 people own half of the country's wealth, and that's unacceptable. He'd probably be a very electable version of Bernie, honestly.
He actually would be.
Like, if Wilford Brimley became a democratic socialist, he'd be our next president. I don't care. There's nothing anyone could do about it.
I was asked an interesting question last night that I will pose to you.
Okay.
Do you think Bernie would be more electable if he called himself a New Deal Democrat as opposed to a Democratic Socialist?
Sure. Probably.
I think so.
Probably.
When I was asked, I said, yeah, I believe so.
Probably. Right now. The funny thing is that he's thinking for a longer game than he'll probably even be alive for. Because the young voters who will eventually become old voters and actually show up and vote as a bloc are fine with socialism. Well, most voters are fine with socialism. They just aren't fine with it being acknowledged as socialism.
Right.
These voters are fine with the acknowledgement of socialism. Oh, by the way, when we were in New Hampshire and had some philosophical discussions with some Bernie bros, the political spectrum that falls under Bernie bros is everything from like edgy center-left Democrats who just, they're in it because he's cool and, all the kids are doing it, to like straight-up anarcho-communists who, sort of like how there are some anarcho-capitalists who will vote Libertarian or Republican or whatever because it's either that or the freaking Boogaloo man. On the other side are like just some straight-up like Antifa communists who are ready. They're voting for Bernie because if it's not that, then they want to pull out the guillotines and eat the rich and all that stuff. Like, I've had people that said, I'm voting for Bernie Sanders, and if he doesn't get it, I'm voting for Vermin Supreme, and if that doesn't work, it's time to eat the rich. To which I've said, I appreciate your support. But so, no, he's staying in it. I really want to see Wilford Brimley play Bernie Sanders now.
Oh yeah, I want to see that.
I would help crowdfund that, both in donations and shares.
I have the weirdest feeling that Wilford Brimley would turn that down, though.
I hate that. And you're right.
Right. It'd be like, you'd end up with like, I don't know if James Gardner is still alive.
No, he died.
Okay. Well, then you wouldn't end up with him.
I mean,
Jack Lemmon?
gosh, no. So James Garner died in 2014. Jack Lemmon
Jack Lemmon, he died. He died a while ago.
Oh yeah, he died in 01. Man, was it that long ago?
Yeah, he died shortly after he made Bagger Vance.
When was the movie that he did with James Garner, where they were presidents?
Oh, that was 99, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think so. 99.
My Fellow Americans was in 96.
96, wow.
Good movie, My Fellow Americans.
That was a fun movie. Two former presidents that ran. They were both single terms.
Yeah.
And they ran as president and vice president.
Yeah. Well, no, and they were opponents. They were like bitter enemies.
Right, but then they ran as president and vice president at the end. So
that's right. I forgot about that part. Yeah. Because they did their thing. They did their. Well, I don't want to spoil the movie. Go watch the movie. It's called My Fellow Americans. My Fellow Americans, and then watch My Fellow Americans, my show.
Right. Do exactly that.
So that's it for the night, guys. But yeah, vote for Vermin Supreme and don't support the death penalty. And I'm sorry about the thing with Bernie. That's our takeaway, kids.
I can't wait for the next Dean Scream. I wish I knew when it was coming.
Oh man, me too. So just to let you know, I will be in Virginia this weekend for the Libertarian Party of Virginia convention, and then we will be back here next week. Next Tuesday for the Muddy Waters of Freedom, where Matt Wright and yours truly, Matt Wright and I parse through the week's news with the cheer and aplomb of a shiny coronavirus monkey. As you could imagine. I'm tired, okay? I'm tired.
I get it.
We're both tired. So Matt, if someone were to want to watch everything we've ever done and follow us on social media, how is that possible?
So there are multiple ways you can do that.
Oh wow.
You can follow us on the Facebook at facebook.com/muddiedwatersmedia. You can follow us on Instagram to look at just whatever memes we decide to throw up there. At Instagram at Muddied Waters Media, you can watch pretty much every show we've ever made on the YouTube at youtube.com/muddiedwatersmedia. You can sorry. On Twitter, you can find us at muddied_waters. On Float, you can find us at float.app/muddiedwatersmedia. You can listen to us on the greatest podcasting platform known to man
ever.
Anchor.fm/muddiedwaters. And you can find this in every episode of Muddied Waters of Freedom at muddiedwatersmedia.com.
We have a couple comments to end with. Corbin Hunt says Gilbert Gottfried would be a better Bernie. I agree. I would also want to see that.
That would be a different take than the Wilford.
It would be a completely different take. I would like to see like a competing Bernie off between Wilford Brimley and Gilbert Gottfried.
And throw Larry David in the mix because he does a really decent one.
As a control, because he's good.
Right.
Like his Bernie's really good. So have him in as like a control. Because Bernie's not in the mood for this right now. Bernie's not having a good week. So he wouldn't want to participate in this. But you know, Larry David in the middle, Wilford Brimley, and Gilbert Gottfried. I would pay up to $20 to watch that.
Do you know what people paid up to $20 to watch? The Corey Feldman.
The Corey Feldman documentary that did not happen.
It did. It aired today.
Oh, did it air? Because I know it was like the site was down or something.
No, yeah, it aired today at like 3 o'clock or something.
Oh, good. Okay, good. So it was like a glitch in their system or what's it called? Like their server was bogged down or something.
Overloaded.
Okay, well, good, because people were thinking it might be a scam. All right, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
no,
Cool.
it was real.
Good. Good.
Every name that he named in it was names he had already named, so nothing came of light. The details on the Charlie Sheen thing were more than I wanted to know, but it also didn't come as much of a shock either. So, will Charlie Sheen see anything about this? No,
he will not.
He's already kind of drummed himself out of the business anyway.
Yeah, and he's been very clear in not saying anything about this, which is smart.
He actually sued. He sued.
Oh, did he sue
the
Corey
National
Feldman?
Enquirer for
really?
running a story saying it happened?
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah. I want to see that now. But so Chris Reynolds says Spike's going to the Virginia Libertarian Young Women's Convention. I'm going to a convention that, much like the pictures I showed you, is mostly male. So I don't know where
by a much wider margin than those pictures.
By a considerably wider margin. But wider margin. Like I don't get where this narrative came from. Like, are people shocked that there were some attractive women at a college who were like half my age and I'm happily married? Like, that's what I need, right? I need to like ruin my marriage over like someone that could legitimately be my child, where I would have been a young adult when I had, a legal teen when I had them. That's what I need, guys. So, guys, thanks again for tuning in. We will see you next week. And it's not an organic narrative.
Chris Reynolds just wrote, it's an organic narrative.
It's not an organic narrative.
Oh, God.
Where we're going,
we don't need roads.
It's not an organic narrative.
I don't care anymore, man. I really don't. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. Honolulu. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. Honolulu. Yeah. I wanna take you to Honolulu, baby. I wanna go on a vacation. Wanna chill, wanna sit on the beach and chill. Wanna drink Corona Beach and chill. Yeah, put the lime in the drink. Stop and think. Look at your face, man, you're beautiful. Girl, you're beautiful. Never seen nothing so beautiful. Make the beach look like it's nothing. Like it's nothing. Make everything look like it's nothing. Girl, I love you. Girl, I love you. I didn't know this till now, but I love you so much. I want to be with you forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Wait. I'm gonna take her to Honolulu. I wanna take her to Honolulu. I wanna take her to Honolulu. Honolulu. Yeah. I wanna take her to Honolulu. I wanna take her to Honolulu. I wanna take her to Honolulu, Honolulu.
I remember back in the day when I used to work and get paid. I spent my whole check on you, girl. You were my whole world. My voice is kinda fucking trash, but you didn't give a shit about that. We used to light it up and burn ash, but now you're gone and I'm here all alone. My life is nothing but a poem. Yeah, da 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 da. Yeah.
I wanna take her to Honolulu, Honolulu, Honolulu. Wanna take her to Honolulu, Honolulu. Yo, this is for everybody who's in love right now, man. This is for everybody. I want you to tell that special someone you want to take her to Honolulu, dog. Y'all go on the beach and fucking chill, man. This is for y'all, man. We love, one love. That's it. That's all we gotta do for man. We just want to show everybody that we mean everything to everybody. Everybody's somebody, somebody. Everybody, somebody's everything. Thank you for the support. Peace.